Do you know? Yes.
Jason, whenever you're ready.
Yep. The other Jason.
I know, but I always answer anyway.
I know.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, April 11th, 2022 Selectmen's Meeting. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. Jim Dempsey is here for a quick public comment.
Thank you. Jan Dempsey, 33 Uptack Road. I'm sure you've all noticed too, now that the snow's gone, that we have a lot of litter on our streets. And a group of volunteers working with the Conservation Commission and the Groveland Library are sponsoring a cleanup. And this year, we're making it as easy as possible for everyone to clean things up. You know, when you walk your dog or when you take your morning walk or just go on your own street, if you can pick up a bag of litter, that would be great. And so what we're doing too, just as a little encouragement, is once you've picked up your street or whatever you've decided to do before May 15th, you can email grovelandgreen@gmail.com and just let us know who you are and what street you cleaned up, what section, and how many bags of trash you picked up, and you'll be entered into a drawing. We have a number of prizes we'll be giving out after the 15th of May. So we're excited about this. We're hoping that people will do it during school vacation and any other time, a beautiful day, you're out taking a walk, get that trash picked up, and our town will look a lot better. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I do have the information. I'll just give it to you so you have one extra poster if anybody wants to.
And they do have the kits at your library.
Oh, yes.
I'll let you tell them.
I'll go back and just mention that.
I'm very excited about this.
Now, if this went up to the high
I'm
school,
cleaning
would
up
this
Lower
qualify for
Washington.
community service? If we get the
Want
kids?
help?
Oh, yeah, I
I saw a
would think
bunch
so.
of people over at the Pine.
Thank you.
Yep. That's a good place to clean up too.
Kathy, thank you so much for reminding me. How could I forget? Oh, it's embarrassing.
We're very excited
Um,
about those.
We also have at the library, and they should be ready by Tuesday, which is the official day we're starting this, which is tomorrow. We have litter grabbers. There's 3 available. The kids love them for picking up trash. And you could check one out with your library card and take it out to do your trash pickup, and then return it, of course. But we're excited to have that too, and that's one of the things the library's doing to help sponsor this month-long event. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Approve the warrant. Jason, do you have them?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the warrants for Monday, March 28th, 2022.
Say what?
Minutes or warrants?
Warrants.
Yeah, minutes.
The minutes, I'll second that.
I
Sorry.
know.
Can I do the minutes before the warrants?
Yeah, we have to
just
do the
did.
minutes before the warrants. Let's do that.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I did, second.
And a second. Approve the minutes of March 28th. All in favor? Unanimous. Want to do the warrants?
Take 2.
Yeah, now I can do the warrants. Oops. I make a motion to approve payroll warrant in the sum of $187,257.35.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Bill warrants?
I'll make a motion to approve bill warrant 2241 in the amount of $1,755,967.51, which breaks down to the town of $52,941.62. Water and sewer, $21,219.20. Payroll withholding, $4,145.92. Light bills, $58,232.88. grants and revolving, $601,675.56. And Pentucket assessment of $1,017,752.33.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Appointments. Appointment of Maureen Lee Locke, 86 School Street, Groveland, to the position of substitute van driver for the Council on Aging, effective April 11th. Position is part-time as needed at the rate of $15.42 an hour and subject to a successful query check.
I'll make a motion to appoint Maureen Lealock, 62 Marshall Road, Kingston, New Hampshire, to the position of substitute van driver for the Council on Aging effective April 11th, 2022. His position is part-time as needed at a rate of $15.42 per hour and subject to a successful query.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. We have a letter from the Council on Aging Director in support of it. Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, votes of the board. Approve the 2022 election warrant, and we have that packet. And this is the election warrant with the town offices that are open, as well as the ballot question. And everybody have that? We need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the local election ballot as presented to us, or is it a warrant that we're voting right now, or ballot? The ballot, okay. Do I need to read it? The warrant, I thought so. So I'm making a motion to approve the warrant for the 2022 local election.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, to ratify the 2021 to 2024 union agreement with the Water and Sewer Department. Everybody read that over?
Yes.
And any, we'll need a motion, or,
I'll make a motion to ratify the 2022, it's going to be 2022 to, what's it going through to? 2024 water and sewer contract.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Further discussion?
Anything changed, Rebecca, from the last time we looked at it? It's
No,
the
nothing changed,
same.
there was just a technicality and a note in the agreement that we needed to remove.
Anybody else? No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Ratify the 2021 to 2024 union agreement for the Highway Department.
Okay, I'll make a motion to ratify the 2021 to 2024 contract for the highway department.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Vote, presentations. MBTA Communities Zoning Update, Sam Joslin and Ann Schindler. You're up. Which one first? Both.
We're together,
This
yeah.
is kind of a quick presentation, or it's really not a presentation at this point. We have two things that we need the board to consider. One is a letter from MVPC Communities expressing concerns over this new law and the impacts it'll have on the smaller communities. I would assume we'd want to sign on. They're all the same questions we've had, the same concerns, that this is a significant ask of smaller communities especially. So I would ask you to support signing that and give Rebecca the okay to sign on to the notice. I don't know, was that in their packet, or is that something they can, it's something you can get after from Rebecca, but it's pretty straightforward. It's all the concerns that we have here. It's very much echoed throughout all of the Merrimack Valley in the smaller communities, that, you know, this could potentially put a big strain on our infrastructure, our, you know, just the growth numbers that quickly could be, you know, a concern. So we'd ask you to sign on to that. And then also with the MBTA communities, there is a requirement for May 2nd to send in a MBTA community information form. I printed it out if you want to look at it. It's pretty, oops, actually, I kept one for me. Pretty boring information. It really just gives a rundown of, you know, what we have for MBTA infrastructure, if any. Is there any MBTA infrastructure within a half mile of us? Basically, by filling out this form, we are just kicking the ball down the road. It's non-committal. If we don't do it, there's a penalty to not doing it, that we're basically making the statement that we are not going to participate. I don't know why we wouldn't fill out the simple form and at least kick it down the road till we know more. But it is up to you whether you sign it or not. We have looked further into zones and the way to make this work or not. There are some interesting parcels and ideas as to how we could make it work. Not saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's not the worst thing since, I guess, bread wasn't sliced.
Yeah.
So pretty much all we're here for tonight. We don't have any additional information. We're still waiting for MVPC and the state to get more info out there to help us develop a plan if we decide to move forward with any plan. But in the meantime, I would assume the board would want to send concerns to the state and fill out the non-binding form just to keep us on the list of communities that are potentially entertaining this.
Anybody got any questions for Sam or Annie? Dan, you had something?
Yeah, have you spoken with any other municipalities to see what the word on the street is, and can we join forces? Is you know, what can we do?
Yes and yes. The letter that we're talking about is the word on the street that we're all very concerned about it. It's a huge ask in a short amount of time, especially for the small communities. A Haverhill, you might be able to just throw an overlay on something that already exists and comply. For us, we don't have that type of density anywhere. I mean, and it's far outside the scope of what we have in town. We're looking at mostly 1 acre zoning, maybe in some non-conforming areas, you know, half acre type of lots, and with 1 dwelling on it, and now we're looking at 15 on an acre. That's a, you know, that's quite a swing from what we have to what they'd like. And it's the same, you know, I'm leaving here, going to West Newbury, they've got the same concerns. It's the exact same thing. So right now, there's not a lot of feedback back from the state or MVPC or anyone, because they're just getting these comments in from us to give them our concerns. Whether or not they're going to address them, help us with those, extend the deadlines, we don't have the info yet. This is just the start of sending our concerns out.
What about the legality of this? I mean, if you're gonna rezone, it's gonna impact existing property owners. So is there any pushback from any municipalities on whether or not it's even lawful to kind of ram this down our throats? And it certainly affects individual property rights. So is there any sort of procedural or due process argument to tie this up in court for several years? That's what I would want to look into if I had the time.
So
But,
the law has passed.
Yeah.
As far as challenging it, I'm sure we'll see those.
Yeah.
And then as far as the town goes, as a town, even if it was brought to town meeting, the townspeople still have the opportunity to turn it down. The downside of that is what you lose if you turn it down, and is that something we can live with? So it's, yeah, really on the too early side to know. I think with this letter to the state from all the communities in the surrounding area stating that we've got this issue, and it's not just Merrimack Valley, it's, up the eastern coast where all the MBTA, there's too many acronyms, goes right through to Boston and into Quincy and further south. So it's not just our little corner. We just have MVPC kind of, as usual, being our collective voice for the North Shore area, but still no real direction as to where this is going yet. We don't have much more than we had last time when we were here last month.
The state hasn't come up with any more information to give us.
And if we don't go along with it, do we lose all kinds of funding or just related to public transportation? Because in my opinion, we could probably live without those.
So it's any funding related to DHCD, which I think Rebecca looked at, and in the past 3 years plus the upcoming years, we look at about 5 million in about 5 years. So it's not
What's that acronym? What's that?
DHCD, Department of Housing and Urban Development.
The MBTA doesn't really have a lot to
So-
do with it. That's kind of just how they've.
So this is for HUD funding? Is that what that is? It's HUD? Federal money?
No, it's Mass
MassWorks.
Department of Housing and Urban Development. So what they want, as DHUD is, they look at these MBTA areas as where that denser housing could or should be. So that's why they have a leg in it.
tie to the
Yeah.
MBTA,
So MBTA really has nothing to do with it, other than they're looking at the routes the MBT takes.
One more question, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Can we live without the $5 million? Can we cancel those projects? Are they critical?
And I think at this point,
It's maybe.
too early to ask the question. I think we should wait, see what they'll accept or what they won't accept. Will they scale this back? What are the exceptions to it? Because if it's something we can live with, and it's something that will work with either projects that we're anticipating or trying to encourage, maybe this works in our favor. I'm trying to paint a pretty picture here that maybe it'll work. I've got serious concerns. I know Annie, Rebecca, we're all the other communities I talk to, they're in the same boat. So if we don't have to live without it, I would think with the town, we don't want to put any more on the backs of the taxpayers. But at the same time, we don't really know enough yet to say, is this definitely not for us? Which is why I think, filling out this form work to send it on and just say, okay, here's our info. We'll stay in the race until we get more info. And once we have more info, we can look at what might work for the town, bring it to you guys. And if it's something that works, great. If it's something where you all say this is just absolutely not and you don't want to entertain it, that's fine too. But it is a good amount of money that we do get from them. And then the scary part of it is they also have some language in the law that says any other funding that DHCD may have input into.
Yeah.
Which that really is such a vague statement. And one of the questions that's asked, what are these other funds?
Yeah.
How do you, is that Chapter 90 money? Is it your funding for schools? We really don't know yet. And that's why I don't want to, try commit or lean one way too far yet.
Yeah.
I think once we get the response from the state on the comments from the cities and towns that are impacted and what they're going to do, if anything, from that, is when we can start making some more solid decisions on which direction to go. But right now, we still have the basic law that says, here's what you're going to do, here's the density you're going to do it at. We don't know how you're going to do it, how it's going to impact you, and
Yeah.
And
what the legal concerns are, any of that yet.
So there are no regulations. Usually they come out with a statute and then they'll propose regulations and have public hearings. Have there been any regulations promulgated on this statute, or it's just a
It is just the law that
just
was
a
passed.
statute?
Yeah, they're still in the draft phase for the other for the rest of the regulation, which is what we commented on before March 31st.
And how it will affect already committed funds. I mean, it doesn't seem to me that they
Yeah.
would be able to retroactively,
Yeah, I wouldn't
take
think
away
so,
funds
but-
they've already been already committed to. I mean, it seemed like some sort of breach.
I know by not submitting this information form, we would lose out on the next fiscal year's funding. But by sending this form in, which like Sam said is non-committal, we're still eligible for that funding in the meantime before
Right.
this would go to a town vote. So,
Okay, thank you.
And tonight, we're just looking for permission for Rebecca to act on both the community information form and to join on to the letter of concerns from MBTA communities to, just say, we're in the same boat.
yeah.
Could you give us a quick rundown, advantages and disadvantages to the town participating? And, yeah, that'll work. You don't have that, do you?
Not really. I mean, if you want to put a rosy spin on it, sure you can. We get increased housing. There's little housing stock in Massachusetts. We have a severe housing shortage. It could create new growth in the town, which could lead to other funding. Sure. If it's done right, there's places that this could work well, and I'm not just saying Groveland, but, globally in the areas they're looking at. Are we one of them? I don't know, and I think it really is too early to tell. We may not be. We may look at this and say, there is no way we can make this work. We may look at it and say, hey, we've got these couple options where maybe we can take this overlay, put it over it, and we comply, but in a way that works for us. And that's the stuff we've been looking at collectively is to, okay, if we just take a, kind of shotgun approach and start putting it in different areas and towns, what are the pluses, what are the minuses? If we put it over in Nichols Village, they got a high density there, can we do it there? Well, no, it's age restricted, so that comes off the list. Can we do it at, I don't know, Whitestone,
Yeah.
Same thing, does that work? Or, so we're just trying to test the waters, and it's not just, we can separate this into multiple districts too, so if it's a matter of, can we take 3 or 4 of these places that are already semi-developed, and put it there, does it make sense? Because someone's probably not gonna come in and knock down the manor to put in, a higher density there. Could they? I suppose, but would it be economically feasible or feasible for the builder to do? Maybe, maybe not. And those are the things we're looking at, that maybe we can use this in a way to get us some growth thoughtfully and keep the funds, while looking at it from a reality standpoint of what would someone do there, or what could someone do there, and how developable is the parcel or parcels. But again, it's a lot of homework, a lot of legwork, and a lot of answers we don't even have or questions we don't have the answers to. So to try and, right now it's a guess what I'm thinking game, and we don't know what they're thinking. Other than the really broad brush, make this giant 750 unit potential area. And that doesn't give us enough to go on, so.
All right, anybody else?
Yes.
Kathy?
I've been waiting. So on this part thing, it does say, and they tell us the penalties right away. We will submit a parcel update to MassGIS by 5 PM on May 2nd, 2022, and if we do not, I understand that failure to do so may means our municipality will not be eligible for FY23 MassWorks and Housing Choice Community Growth grants and local projects funding under local capital projects fund established, and so on.
We
I
believe
get that.
MVPC's already updated
Yep,
this.
I got that. So when we fill this out, are we going to be asking for their technical assistance, or are we going to do this ourselves?
I mean, in here it asks what assistance you may need. I think at this point, yeah, let's ask for
Check
whatever
all the
assistance we
boxes.
can
Yeah.
get. You know, check the
Well,
boxes. Yes,
You
we
sure?
want everything
'Cause
and anything.
I'm almost thinking maybe we don't want any
Well,
assistance
and again,
just
it's
yet.
not, it's
'Cause
non-committal, but
yes and no.
I mean-
It's telling them we want assistance to do certain things, and I'm just questioning, maybe we want to look at this on our own right now, which we can do, right?
sure.
Yeah. So, and then it said in here, it mentions that the wetlands and the open space that we purchased would remain protected.
Yes,
And throughout it, it keeps talking about a half a mile to a public transit station.
yes. We don't comply with that.
We don't
can't.
comply, yeah.
Yeah. We're an
Yeah, so-
MBTA adjacent community, not an MBTA.
Yes, I understand that. Yes, from the first presentation, I got all that. So it's kind of like a broad brush across everybody that borders on these. And hopefully, with us voting to allow, to join in on that letter of concerns, and we comply with this immediate little thing, we can at least hold this off for a little while and get some time to look at it. I guess I would defer to you and Rebecca's judgment as far as whether we want technical assistance. I just not sure I want them meddling in just yet.
Well, I think whether we
just-
check the box or
you know,
not,
I just,
MVPC will
yeah,
be
I just,
getting
I don't like to
that
check too
assistant,
many
but-
boxes if I don't know what's gonna happen. So those are my only comments. I looked through the form and I see all these boxes, and that one caught my eye, and I'm like, yeah,
And
I'm
again, I
not
think
so
a
sure.
lot of it is stuff we can potentially ask for, but if we say we don't want the assistance, we can always turn that
We can
down.
always turn around and go back. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking.
So
We're-
that's why I think, check the boxes, say, sure, we want everything, and then when we
Or
look at it.
Don't
we-
check the boxes, and then later we'll say, you know what, we might need some help.
Whichever way,
Flipping the
I think we're just
quarter.
looking to see what resources are gonna be needed with this.
Yeah.
And that's more the look, not so much the what do we want today? Because again, we don't have those questions or the answers to those questions yet.
Right.
So I think it's really a poll of who out there is gonna need technical assistance.
Yeah.
And probably
And
everybody.
I think kind of our response is, we have more concerns than need for technical assistance right now. So
Well,
that's
exactly.
why I'm,
There's bigger
that's why I'm
questions.
kind of an arm's length person on this, like, we'll ask you for help when we figure out what's really
What we're
going
doing.
on. Yeah, yeah.
Jason?
Yeah, has there been any thought in terms of the areas where you might put that type of density, where the traffic would have a steady flow out, but it might encourage businesses to come in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple locations that we've looked at where it might be beneficial to generate more business, which would help take some of the burden off the taxpayers. We've looked at methods of, because it's a gross density, and maybe scaling that density back, starting with a light density and moving to a heavier. Something, and not to pull up Daly's property was something that came up where we've got a heavy density already proposed. Can we scale that back as you move forward? I don't know. And again, it's really too early to tell. We have lots of issues with wetlands, natural heritage, with, you name it. So to find large chunks of land that would accommodate the volume that they want, it's pretty tough. So again, it may be that we come up with four locations that have smaller, instead of 50 acres, it's 12, 12, and 12, plus 2.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just a follow-up, I'm looking on page 3, 7E, and I'll read it. Is more than half of the district covered by water bodies, wetlands, or permanently protected open space, or subject to any other development restrictions, not including existing zoning regulations? And I see that in the parentheses, more than once in here, not excluding existing zoning regulations. So it sounds to me like they want to be able to bypass the zoning regulations. Do you read it the same way?
I think what they're trying to discern with a lot of this or weed out is the folks that are saying, well, we'll give you 50 acres and 49 of them are in the wetlands. That's, it's not going to fly. They've made that pretty clear. So if you take a zone and say, okay, this zone's going to be our new MBTA zone, is more than half of that going to be wetlands or something undevelopable, natural heritage, or, they're looking to see if you're trying to, play the, play the games of, yeah, sure, we're going to give you your 50 acres, but yeah, you can't do anything with it. Which, why anyone would fess up and say, sure, we're looking to trick you, I don't know. Seems a little silly, but they're going to have to review, once we do determine a location, if that's the direction we go, or locations, they're going to have to look at these overlay maps and see what, once we give them that chunk of land, what starts getting carved off by wetlands, by natural heritage, by floodplains, by our own zoning that says, hey, you can't do this here, and does it, how does that interact? So it's going to be really complex. It's going to need a lot of review, technical assistance, legal review. I'm hoping there is something from the state, from the MVPC, and then between the folks we have here, we can at least tell you what's definitely not going to work, and at least bring you something that might, and then you can decide as to, is that good enough or not? And again, maybe it's not, maybe we don't get there, but at least, we'll give it a go. And if it's something that works with the master plan, with what we either have developed or upcoming developments, okay, we can try at least.
One thing that I notice in most of these, it's saying, half a mile from a public transit station. On most of these questions, or something is a district, is a district 50 or more acres within half a mile of a qualifying public transportation station. We don't have any. But what I'm surprised at, I think, just reading this quickly, that there's no question in here about how far from a sewer system, from the public septic system. So it's looking to me like this is more for a community closer to Boston that is totally covered by a public septic system. And that's been part of our problem here, is we don't have a town septic system that goes through the whole town. And so we've been limited in some of the areas where we can put a commercial or an industry. And that's kind of hurting us in taxes. So
Yeah, and with the law that they gave us, or the guidance they gave us, those are some of the things that they sort of on one hand say, well, when we're looking at it, don't worry about the infrastructure, but then later on they come back and say, well, but you should provide a zone that's close to infrastructure if possible. So again, these are the guidance pieces. West Newbury has no sewer whatsoever, zero. There is not a sewer pipe in town, so how do you get there? And there are ways. It just comes down to, is it a way where someone's going to have to pay to extend sewer, someone's going to have to create a treatment plant, or does it make your project not feasible anymore? And that's the stuff we want to try and look at when we entertain each potential area that we look at. But even at that right now, trying to take those cursory views, we don't have the answers to should we or can we include that or not include it. So, we're finding it hard to even pick spots and apply anything because we don't know what we're applying yet. So, we've at least got places where we think, okay, once we get those answers, we can start applying what they will or won't allow and see if, does it look good? Does it look bad? Is it, completely ridiculous? But, again, it just goes back to we don't have enough information. So we're sort of at a standstill until we get something back related to the comments that get sent to the state and further guidance, which the problem with that is we've got a really tight timeline that they've given us, and the further it goes, the tougher it's going to be to develop something that's, digestible for the town. And even at that, will it pass a town meeting if that's the direction we go? So I think we're just kind of, waiting with our, sitting on our hands and waiting for someone to give us more. And we just don't have it yet.
Okay, so you have some paperwork there for us to look over, and
We have to vote.
we can digest it for a couple weeks.
Yep, so this one, the MBT Community Information Form, has a deadline of May 2nd.
Yep.
We met the first deadline last time we had the meeting, having a meeting and announcing to the public that this is, something coming. So this has to be sent in by the 2nd. The other letter, I believe it's April 29th, the group letter of concerns, if I remember right, something along those lines, was towards the end of the month. Do you remember?
I thought it was March 31st, but I'm all in favor of us signing on to a letter of concerns.
Yeah, I think the initial concerns were March
know it was really too
31st, and
fast.
then there is another deadline that they have now because of communities' concerns, and I think it's April 29th.
Right.
So-
Could I just ask a kind of informational question? I find this just personally very distressing because I've watched the town put forward significant sums of taxpayer dollars for master planning, and we've carefully, reviewed our town, and we've tried to lay out recreational areas, we've tried to restore historic areas. I don't feel that we've been anti-growth as a town. We've just tried to steer in the right direction and manage the impact on the town. And yet, when I read the front of this, it almost reads like somewhat demeaning to us. This is not the place to provide comments on the draft compliance guidelines. We don't want to hear from you. That's the other way of saying that. We don't want to hear it.
Got
Just
it.
sign our form, please.
Which is why we
And I-
want to send in that other letter of,
Right,
okay, so this isn't the place, we'll give you a place.
Right, yeah, and I don't mind us sending our own individual letter too, because I feel really strongly that this town has funded studies to see how to develop and preserve our town. And so taxpayer money has been spent to do that. And now you're just gonna sort of like rip it apart because
at it.
somebody at a desk somewhere decides they can do it better. And that doesn't make sense to me. They provided us with grants to do most of this work, and now they're just going to dismiss it, like, oh, that doesn't matter. And I think, both as a selectman and as a taxpayer, that angers me.
Yep,
that they
someone at
did
the
this.
state level lobbed a bomb on their way out of office.
Yes, they did.
So we are well aware of the
Liberals.
the problems with this.
So,
But we are trying to look at it from a, let's throw the rose-colored glasses on. We'll see, is there a way to make it work with our master plan, with every,
off the list.
we're gonna, it's all puppies and rainbows. Let's move it along and see how it works. And if it doesn't, well, then it doesn't. But at least we've given it a try and come up with the best solutions we can. That's all.
Okay, so we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting in 2 weeks, and which still gives us time if we decide to sign.
Well,
And we can look over the paperwork that you've supplied.
I think the
Great.
letter goes.
Now that
soon.
everybody's had a chance to talk, maybe I could ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind?
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
I asked, and you didn't say anything.
You went
Go ahead.
from Dan right to
Go ahead.
Kathy to, so, did every community in Massachusetts get this same questionnaire?
This one, yes.
Yeah.
This is
They
the
did.
standard
So it-
MBTA Community Information Form.
Reading it over, it seems very, very general in nature.
Very.
Yep.
Almost like, it's more of an information gathering, like, I picture the fingers of the MBTA as they're currently presented now, right, going around the Metro Boston. So I can see communities like Saugus, Wakefield, Canton, those where the fingers of the MBTA quite haven't reached it, but where they have the land to expand the MBTA as it currently is. I think they're doing that now in the North Shore, right? From Winthrop into Revere into, what's the next community up?
I
There
know
is
what
a
you're
Blue
talking
Line
about, but
expansion.
I can't remember.
So it seems like communities like that would be in phase one. But for communities like us, it almost seems like a Bass Ackwards kind of thing, because they haven't really provided the infrastructure to create the kind of flow that you'd need once you put these kind of developments in. where, like I said, the towns and cities I named, right on the edge of these fingers, are primed for that kind of development.
Yeah, instead of working from a central hub where we're working from the branches in, which is,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think this is possibly years away before it reaches us.
I
and
would
f-
hope,
to
but right
fully
now we're given
impact us.
a 12/31/24 deadline,
Well,
so.
that's what they say now.
Right, right, and that's why we're hoping with all these comments that go in, that they'll say, okay, wait a minute, everyone's saying this is way too quick. You know, maybe we can do it, but it's way too quick to say, okay, everyone jump on board. You've got, basically 2 years to, develop zoning, bring it to the Board of Selectmen or whatever, a governing body, to have it approved, to bring to the townspeople for, public hearings, bring it back, bring it to town meeting, have it accepted, get it to the AG's office, have him okay it, and then send it to DHCD to have them look it over and make sure they're okay. We move at the speed of municipalities, and that is way beyond our speed limit. I mean, it is lightning fast for a municipality to get this much done that fast. Not saying it couldn't be done, I just don't think it's likely to be done.
Oh, absolutely
But in the
not.
meantime, if we can comply by checking yes, or no, we're not within a half mile, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking the 251 cities and towns in Massachusetts, 189 of them are gonna check this first question, no. And then it's gonna really pump the brakes on a lot of things. I mean, what do you do in Mount Washington, Massachusetts? You're right in that little corner where New York meets Connecticut.
So keep in mind, this is only communities with MBTA in them or adjacent to them, so it's
Oh,
mostly.
so it didn't go out to every community in town in Massachusetts,
No,
just,
only everyone that is either a MBTA community or an adjacent community. So if you've got someone next to you that has a subway, train station, bus route, and you're a community that's next to that city or town, you're included. Anyone outside of that is not. So it's mostly eastern seaboard, from the Cape up to us.
that includes the fingers of the commuter rail?
Yep.
So north to Gloucester, south to the Cape,
Yep.
west to Framingham, Worcester?
Yep.
Still says March
Okay.
31st.
Yeah, so the western cities and towns don't get hit quite as hard, because there's just nothing that really goes much beyond Worcester.
We've got plenty of time after the meeting.
Yeah, just to let Rebecca sign that letter for us.
The meeting.
Okay.
Not for this form. This
We're gonna
is
have a lot
letter
of fun, aren't we?
concerns of the town.
I hope one way or the other, it's not a lot of work for nothing. I hope
Yeah.
one way or the other, we can get something out of this that will benefit us. I know that's possibly overly optimistic. Maybe not. Again, I don't want to shoot things down before their time, but hopefully once we get some more answers, we can start figuring things out.
Have a glass half full attitude. Get
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm, in the rest of my life, just completely pessimistic to a fault. So I figured on one or two things, I at least gotta have the half full attitude.
There you go.
So
Might as well
we're
be
going
this
with
one,
this
right?
one. This is my one I picked for that.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, how do you want to proceed? You want to think it over? Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to get the public comment part in, because I'm on the website and it still lists the March 31st date that we kind of missed.
Well, we're in April.
I did-
realize the month we're in, but I'm saying that, you're saying we can still sign this letter of concerns and get in on this?
So that's separate through the MVPC. The March 31st deadline, I did already send something in
Okay.
for, expressing the concerns that
Right, and
the
then
selectmen
this,
had.
this is May 2nd. What about this letter that the other towns have signed on to? When's
I
that
believe
going?
on the letter, it's an April 29th date that they want to sign on
April
by.
29th.
But yes, that is separate than the original date of
Okay.
concerns. So this is really just a secondary attempt to get cities and towns together and go, guys, we got some major problems with this. It's not easy for a Groveland, a Boxford, Ipswich, any of them, West Newbury, Newbury. They're all in the same boat of here, throw 750 units in. So it's well-known, and we just want to, once again, document as many ways as we can that this is a concern.
Right, so I wanted to make sure we give Rebecca enough time to do all this, to meet the deadline. So if we push it off to our next meeting, we're up to April 25th. And we're right on top of our town meeting as well, which is a really busy time. So my preference would be to go ahead and vote to get this stuff off of our plate tonight.
I think, honestly, I think it's a
Right
smart
into the
move.
election and the
It's
town meeting, and it gets
very
crazier. Yeah.
consistent as, across the board as the concerns go.
So it says CEO here, but I guess we just say our town administrator is going to do this? So can I make a motion?
Yeah, you can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve our town administrator, Rebecca Oldham, to sign the letter of concerns on behalf of all the towns for us. And that's my motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Anybody?
Well,
Go ahead, Dan.
so she's gonna fill the form out. Well,
Well,
any further
this is, no,
comment?
first, this motion is for the letter that he mentioned that the other towns have created a letter of concerns.
Okay, so that's,
We're gonna join onto that like a petition.
all right,
Yeah.
and
That's the only motion right now.
concerns are
Everything, yeah.
everything.
Everything.
Economic, septic systems, sewer systems, environmental matters, protected turtles,
We're even gonna mention you by name.
and I don't want the, additional housing in town.
Okay.
Ram down our throat from Beacon Hill. We don't like Beacon Hill. I want that in the letter too.
And I can have Rebecca
It's
or
social
myself-
engineering rammed down the throat. It's overriding local zoning, so, there is no home rule anymore. So I'm concerned about the letter. I don't, I want it to say that we're not happy.
Okay,
Thank you.
It conveys that.
All of that, not just wishy-washy.
It is not wishy-washy in any way. They did an excellent job at, drafting the letter.
Right.
It's very well written and really does address a lot of the concerns, not only in a broad brush stroke, but very pointedly.
okay. Nobody else? Bill moved the question. No further discussion. All in favor of the letter?
All right.
4 in favor. I'm going to oppose because I didn't have enough time to read this thing over. I haven't seen the questions that they're going to send in. I'd like to see that, but.
Sure.
So 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, thank you for the
Wait,
presentation, appreciate it.
A motion to have our town administrator, Rebecca Oldham, complete the form that we've reviewed tonight, because we've discussed it for 40 minutes. She knows a lot more than we do about how to answer all these questions. I'll make a motion that we allow her to complete this form to get this off the plate.
I second that.
There's a second. Any further discussion? I thought we would just made the original motion so that we could see if we wanted to, how we wanted to answer some of these questions. We got a couple weeks to go. All right, further discussion? None, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed?
Yeah, I'll oppose it.
3 in favor, 2 opposed.
We got time.
We got plenty of time.
All right.
Okay, thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Hopefully we'll have information forthcoming. As soon as we do, we'll get in here again. Have a good night.
The only thing I want to point out is that we really need to stay on top of this and participate in this, because ultimately, just like with the 40Bs, as soon as the state says this is how it's going to be, we lose all say. And so, yes, we have to stay very on top of this.
Okay. Discussion and possible vote. Vote to approve Pines Recreation Area field use by Pentucket Lacrosse, May to June 2022, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 5:30 to 7 p.m. We have a motion, and we have we do have the application from the Pentucket Youth Lacrosse.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Pines Recreation Area field use for Pentucket Lacrosse, May through June just May and June, huh? 2022, that's not much. That's it? Short season?
My understanding is they use a different field.
Okay,
so
well,
it was
probably,
Newberry.
Well,
okay.
I've come to a better understanding about that.
Oh,
I guess they used to use a different field, it was called pipe stave.
Yes.
But my understanding now is that West Newbury is charging every group, regardless of who they are, to use their fields.
So I'm going to still make my motion to approve the Pines Recreation Area field use by Pentucket Lacrosse, May through June 2022, on Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays, 5:30 to 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Bill?
That's, they're just talking about the utility field, right?
Yes, the utility field in the back. I showed them the plan and pointed to it, and they said yes. And it's for both boys and girls.
Yeah, and that's what they used last year. And I'll be honest with you, I'll bet you the majority of the kids are from Groveland, both boys and girls. So to charge them, I don't know why West Newbury would do it. If you figure the kids' parents pay enough taxes already, but, yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Dan?
Is there anyone else that wants to use that section? Is there any conflict, would you know, Bill?
Not until the fall, when youth football usually puts in a request to use those fields for practices. But that won't happen. By bylaws, it cannot happen until the third week in August. They can't start practicing.
Didn't we have a football group in here the last meeting? Didn't they ask for use of that field, or? I don't have a map and.
It was a football,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's in
but
August.
it's the Pentucket Youth
In
Football
August.
League.
So is there any potential conflict with the?
No,
use?
because these guys end in June, and
They end in
Kentucky Youth
June.
Football, by bylaws, they can't start their practices until the third week in August, or they get fined like they did a couple of years ago, and then they were ineligible for the playoffs.
Gotcha. So no, but there's no conflict.
No,
Thank you.
not in that field, not in any of those fields. Not currently, but they're in high demand, I gotta tell you,
Okay, the motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor?
right?
Unanimous. Thank you. Next, a one-day liquor license for a wedding reception at VZ Park on June 4th, 2022, between the hours of 4 PM and 9:30 PM. Detail officer required. We have the paperwork on that. Everybody read that over?
Yes, I'm just looking for it. Right here. So, it's Sarah Delary, is that the name? Sarah Delary is the host name? The one-day liquor license?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion, everything's in order on this, insurance and detail, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license application for Sarah Mahan Delary, 6 Merrimack Place, number 4, Haverhill, Massachusetts, on June 4th, 2022, from 4 to 9:30 PM for a wedding reception.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
I did in fact put a new application together for one-day liquor licenses, and you will find on one of those sheets that I have proper sign-offs from the building commissioner, the fire chief, as well as the Board of Health. So they are given the application in advance, and they are to sign off, and then any non-response is an acceptance or an approval of such. So I did hear back from the fire chief, the police chief, and the building inspector, but I did not hear back from the Board of Health.
Okay. Okay, so the motion and a second. All in favor?
All right,
Unanimous. Next, vote to approve and sign the temporary license for on-premises consumption of alcohol and outdoor seating service for Terry Clifford, doing business as T&B Clifford, Pub 97, 935 Salem Street, to expire April 1st, 2023, per the April 1st, 2022 law and act making appropriations for fiscal year 2022 to provide for supplemental certain existing appropriations and for certain other activities and projects. And we have the comments from the building inspector and the Board of Health. No issues.
And the
Chief.
fire chief.
I didn't see that one. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension to the outside dining for Pub 97 until April 1st, 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None. All in favor? Unanimous. Next, discussion on Groveland Day Committee Chair, Lisa Chandler. Lisa, you're up.
Good evening.
Hi.
It's been a little while. Thank you for having me back. It is that time again. I am here to request the dates for the 2022 Groveland Day. We had our first committee meeting this past Thursday, and we unanimously voted to hold Groveland Day this year on Saturday, September 10th. It's the second Saturday of September, but we generally avoid Labor Day as it's kind of hard to pin people down. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. like we have in the past. And we are also looking to push the 5K from being held Friday night instead to being held Sunday morning. So it would be on Sunday, September 11th. I've already spoken with Chief Gillen. He actually said that both dates were fine. We're September 11th of the Remembrance Ceremony that's usually held. So we would look to start the race sometime after that. We have to coordinate what that looks like for this year and how that would work. Chief Gillen didn't see any major issue with it. We're going to try to incorporate a moment of silence at the beginning, and we are looking actually to maybe have the finish line be under a American flag being flown from either a crane or a fire truck kind of situation. So we've just been thinking of ideas like that, but we think that we'll get much bigger participation on a weekend instead of a Friday evening. Not everyone makes it home from work in time. It's starting to get darker earlier, so I can't push race starts too bad. So a Sunday seems to work pretty well for most people running road races. We would look to run Groveland Day the same way we have in the past. So 10 to 4, bounce houses, food vendors, craft fair, touch a truck. We had good success with the farmers market last year, so we would look to bring that back and maybe expand that a little. We had Sweet Paws come last year with their adoptable dogs, and everyone seemed to love that, so we would look to do that again. Pony rides, DJ. I know I'm forgetting stuff. I have a notebook a mile long, but pretty much give or take the same event that we held in years past. And then the road race would be the same with a small post-race party with a food truck and a beer vendor that would be held probably at the Pines. We haven't finalized what the route would look like yet. It kind of depends on how many people we expect to run and how we could make that work. I've been in coordination with Chief Gillen. They're all hands on deck. They're ready to help with whatever we need. We set aside times for the detail officers for both the road race and the Groveland Day event itself. So we're usually pretty good with that. And then if this is okay with everyone, I'll start doing the promotions and getting word out. That way it gives us enough time to really drum up participation. We get volunteers from the middle school and the high school that have to do their community service hours. That worked out great for us last year. We had a ton of help. As far as I know, everyone had fun last year. I didn't receive any kind of negatives. We will be looking this year to maybe change the layout a little bit to make it a little more handicap accessible. I know that's a problem in using the field, and it's just so spread out. The Pines is so large, it's hard to kind of get everyone around. So we're going to try to condense it a bit to make it a little easier for people to kind of maneuver and still get to enjoy everything. But other than that, we're looking forward to coming back and having everyone's support and just having a great day for all. So I will not be planning a rain date. My heart and brain can't take it, so it will be rain or shine. We've had very good luck the last two events in that even though it looked like a hurricane was barreling down on us both times, we had lovely weather. So we're just going to hope that our good luck stands, because it's too involved for me to plan multiple days and get everyone on board and do everything. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or if anyone has suggestions on things they'd like to see that we could try to plan.
Any questions for Lisa? Anybody?
No, just thank you. I mean, you did, last year I went down, it was amazing. It was just all over the place. It was wonderful. It was a big deal. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, you made a funny comment, and you should try to correct it. if you're doing too much, then your committee's not doing enough. So many hands make for light work. Are you the chair again?
I am the chair again. We have a committee of 5. There are vacancies. If anyone's watching this and wants to come help, by all means, come join us. We have lots of volunteers the day of, but we generally keep it a small group of planning. People just don't necessarily like to commit to, even though it's once a month. Everyone wants to show up on the day of and have fun with their families, which I absolutely get. And actually, it seems like a lot of coordination. It's a lot of emails and back and forth and stuff like that, but we're in a pretty good rhythm now where we could just kind of copy, paste, repeat. So it's a lot of upfront coordination and then it kind of lays back. So it's not too bad. But we do have, there is myself as the chair. There are 5 others in the committee. And we keep needling our friends and neighbors to join us as well. So we keep roping as many people in as we can that can commit. But no, we have a pretty good group. We'll have the Boy Scouts back doing food and stuff like that. So everyone that participates the day of loves to participate. We get a lot of repeat vendors. My goal would be to actually do repeat vendors for pretty much everything as long as everyone wants to come back and help us. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. So, and then I take a nice long vacation after it. It works out well.
Yeah. Now, one of the big problems last year, as you mentioned, was the handicap accessible. It was very difficult for anybody that was even slightly immobile to get around. How do you, what's your plans to overcome that this year?
I'm hoping, and I need to think about it a little more, but I'm thinking that if we were to move the craft fair from being up in the field to being down in the parking lot, kind of at the far end, or at least adjacent to the parking lot where everything kind of levels off in the back, and maybe use the field for parking the way they do with the Speedway reunion. I won't lose access to the parking. There's still a place for vehicles to park, but you would be on level ground in the end of the parking lot where you can get to all the craft vendors. It's a pretty level place where you could enter the field if you were going to do the bounce houses or the pony rides or any of the other stuff that we keep back there. The other thing that we're trying to do the best we can is to just condense how everything's laid out. Everything just tends to get really spread out because people are trying to avoid being on top of each other, but in doing so, it makes it hard to traverse kind of everything, and you're here for a bounce house and here for food and here for something else. So just the best that we can, just kind of scrunch everything a little closer in. That's going to be our goal, but I just have to logistically, I mean, I attended the Pines reunion last year. They had no trouble getting cars to park up on the field. They just had someone kind of directing you in, and everyone kind of parked, and it seemed to work well for them. So to the best of my ability to be able to make that a thing again is going to be my goal. I do know they use those fields for football practice in the fall. But generally speaking, they are not holding practice the day before or the day of my event. So I'm able to kind of set things up a little easier for myself. And actually it kind of makes things easier on myself. I don't have to go spray paint vendor booths in the grass. I can just tell you that you have 2 parking spots. So it actually saves me some time and effort. So that was my first thought. I have some time to still think about it. But the more that we can kind of condense things into the back where things are a little more level, I think that we'll be better off, and we'll just use everything as you're entering the Pines as kind of staging and logistics.
So where you park the cars as you came into the Pines, you park the cars kind of right there on the left in the grass?
Correct. Yeah, there's a small spot right before you turn the corner where the grass and the curb is kind of level, so you can make it without damaging your vehicle too poorly. And everyone just drove up onto the grass and they parked. And they actually probably fit more cars parking up there than you actually had marked parking spots, if I venture to guess. And then we still have, just because people prefer to be able to come and go as they please, they park out here behind Town Hall and the library, and they just walk down when they need to. I can probably actually have an extra detail officer if I needed to help directing traffic in and out of parking. But everyone seemed pretty well organized for the Speedway reunion. They kind of just figured it out themselves. So that would be my goal of just trying to relocate parking to other places and being able to use the level ground for the vendors and everything else.
Right now, I'm not sure, I don't have an exact date, but I think it's going to be a problem this year because that's where the new dog park is going. And if it's not fully constructed by then, it'll be well on its way. So you're not going to be able to use that section, that top section for parking this year.
Okay.
So it's glad you know now.
I am glad I know now. So I will go back to the drawing board and figure that out. Okay. I will get creative.
As
Well,
an
the-
engineer, I'll show you the plans and the drawing,
engineer,
so it
yeah,
will
I
give
can,
you, it'll give you a better understanding of exactly where
Of
its
where it is.
location is and what its impact would be in terms
Okay.
of your setup.
Yeah, there is a ton of room out there. I'm sure I can figure something out. I just figured I would do the easy thing and do what people had done before me. So I'm more than happy to figure out an alternative way. But yes, we absolutely want everything to be as accessible as we can make it, understanding there just naturally will be some limitations beyond what we can control. But to the best of our ability, we're going to try to make everything as accessible as possible. If not for a wheelchair, at least for a stroller. I mean, they're outside of being handicap accessible, it needs to just be family friendly. So to the best of our ability, we're going to try to make everything accessible for everyone coming. But I will look at those
Anybody
plans.
else got a question for Lisa? No? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Next, Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Program. Kathy, this is something that you wanted.
Yes, thanks for just squeezing it on there. I'll just pass these down. I didn't, this sort of came to the front of my thoughts. Kind of in the review of the budgets and the review of people asking for extra part-time help. And then, I know years ago when I was on the finance board, we sat down and we thought we made some fantastic changes to the senior property tax work-off program. We took off the restriction that you had to live in town for 10 years and I think we thought at the time that we had made it very friendly and easy to access. But then as I reviewed the programs from other towns, I noticed that they don't have income restrictions. Some of them actually post jobs on their town website, so they make the jobs very meaningful and interesting, and I thought, based on our last census data, the change in our demographic, we have a much larger population of 60 and over, which in town is kind of an untapped resource, I think, for us. Many of these people are fairly highly skilled, and I think that if we were to remove the income restriction would be my only thought for this year. I've spoken to our town administrator a little bit, and she's pointed out some other issues with the program that have to be worked out, and I agree. But we need to kind of move this forward and make it a more proactive program. And I think this will be a win-win because I notice the times when the tax bills are going out, there's a need for extra hands into town hall. Right before town meetings, there's a need for extra hands. Whenever we have an election, we have needs for extra people. And then there's times when we don't need the extra people. And I think we could tap into a huge valuable resource. It's already set up to pay the minimum wage. I think my question for you tonight would be to ask that we can put on the warrant for the annual town meeting to remove the income restriction so we can open this up. In other towns, what they've done is if they get too many people, they kind of try to cycle them through. They have a wait list, and there's no contracts, there's no guarantee that you have this job for 5 years. You're offered the opportunity to work for the town up to $1,000 off your taxes. You do have to pay on that amount as a benefit, as like a salary thing. That will have to be worked out. But it is a way to offset some of your tax burden, and it's a great opportunity for the town, I think, to include some highly skilled, either retired or semi-retired people in our workforce. So I would just ask if someone was willing to make a motion to just remove the income restriction at this point and change nothing else in the bylaw. until Rebecca has had more time to look at this. Do I have that correct, Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I think the Council on Aging Director is in favor of, who was it that wrote a letter about removing the income?
The Council on Aging Director had
Yes,
mentioned that there were
yeah.
at least 2 to 3 individuals who were interested in proceeding with being, or taking advantage of this opportunity, but could not based upon the income level restrictions.
Yeah. So that was my reason for bringing it forward. Sort of a last minute Hail Mary thing, but for a good cause, for a good reason.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion that we remove the income restriction for the senior property tax work-off program. And would that apply for the veterans as well?
Is there income restriction on the veterans? I actually didn't read through that one.
I did not print out the second portion of that.
Yikes.
Yes, there is.
So we can remove from both if you'd like, it's fine.
Yes, I would like to remove them from both.
okay. They're both currently 40,000 for single person and 55 for a household.
Correct. And I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Bill?
Yes. I'll agree, 40,000 single, 50,000 married. I mean, in today's day and age, that's not much. But to have no restrictions, so if I make $1 million a year, you're good with me getting, if I have $1 million of income a year, we're all right with,
Yeah, I think so, Bill, if I could just respond, I think, because I thought, I initially thought the senior tax work-off program was meant to be an income restricted thing, but looking across at other towns, I believe there's a circuit breaker or something for low-income seniors or something. They have another path towards property tax help, I believe, from what I've looked at so far. And so we don't need the income restriction, I don't think. For this type of program to flourish, what you're looking for is to get a pool of people that are interested in doing some part-time work for the town, some skilled, diligent people who would like to help the town out, which is great for us, and in return, we can allow them to work up to $1,000, but then they would have to pay, I believe, taxes on that, like Medicare and those, I believe so. But I'm not positive, it would depend on, a
Depending on-
tax attorney would have to
and
tell me
depending on
better.
their age.
It's not like you can just not show it on your return. It has to be accounted for on our side and accounted for on their side. But it still is, I think of, other towns are having real good success with removal of the income restriction, and some have a wait list, some have, they cycle people in who didn't get a chance. If they didn't get a chance to do anything the year before, they cap it and then they recycle people in. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It just seems like we're a little behind the times on it.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I'm all for doing something for, the seniors. It just seems that there ought to be some kind of maximum. I mean,
Well, it's capped at $1,000.
no, I mean, income-wise.
Why?
That-
I mean, we're not trying to do a social service so much as we're trying to find matchups. We're trying to find, intelligent, diligent people who have the time to come in during elections, during tax season, when the bills are flying out. We need extra hands. Because I think that what I've been noticing in the labor market is we're not having the highest rate of success with these part-time jobs where we don't offer that much money. And now the job market is fairly competitive, and people are going to get snapped off from us as fast as they get trained. Whereas if you're retired or semi-retired and you want to just have some interesting work to do, and help yourself out a little bit, and you help the town out. That's all it's about. It's not about income level anymore, it
All
appears
right.
to me.
If,
Yeah.
even if you multiply it by 10, if somebody's making $400,000, they're not coming here to save 1,000, so yeah, it's
Maybe
it's
not,
mostly
yeah.
irrelevant
Yeah.
when you think about it. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Dan?
Yeah, I kind of like Merrimack's model, where it's up to 1,000. They let Council on Aging do it, but
Yeah,
I don't think we should have an income restriction. I think some people might be hesitant. They might not want to give you their tax return. Just like, why bother? None of your business type of thing. The other thing is, it's a marriage penalty. If you're single, it's 40K, but if you're married, it's 55. Why shouldn't it be 80? It's just another marriage penalty built in there. How about, if you're married, it should be 80. So it makes no sense to me. 60 or older, I don't know that it should even be age restricted. I think the gist of it is if you're tight on money, it's a way for the town to get some volunteers and get some maybe cheap labor, but high qualified people that might not otherwise get involved. So maybe we get more bees with honey. And one more thing, you mentioned circuit breaker credit. I mean, you got to be 65 or older. Your taxes and half your water and sewer bills got to be over 10% of your income, and that's a calculation on the Mass Form 1, and it includes modified income, Social Security, some other non-taxable items. But consult your tax advisor, a circuit breaker credit if you're 65 or older. So there is a mechanism there. You can get, I don't know what it is, $1,100 or so. And it helps out some people. But I don't know that that's the end all. Taxes are going up, and if this Prop 2.5 override goes through 3 years in a row, there's going to be some more people that are hurting. So I'd like to get rid of the age restriction, and I'd like to get rid of the income restriction, and so we don't necessarily open a floodgate. We could cap it. Charlton has a 20 participant limit, so maybe we gauge it. I don't know that we're going to get 5,000 people that want to save $1,000 a piece, and we lose what's the math on that? 5,000 times 1,000.
I will say you cannot, under the law, restrict, you have to have an age associated with it, so it has to be 60
Well,
at
how,
the
how
bare
come,
minimum.
how come the other ones don't have an age restriction on the spreadsheet?
did I do? No, I think they do. Did I write that?
I just know that when we were doing some research, when Selectwoman Castellanos brought it to
Yes.
our attention, it says that they need, that seniors under
Very
the law need to be over the age of 60, and veterans must meet the definition of a veteran, and they also must be over, they do not have an age requirement. So just the
The veterans. don't.
senior.
Yeah, it does have to be over 60.
Has to
Sometimes.
be over 60.
Yeah, that's the law. I didn't
I
put
mean,
that in. I should have.
veterans are mentioned.
Yeah.
Don't we give a veteran discount anyways? And if not, shouldn't we?
There's,
I don't know that I want to require veterans to volunteer to get a $1,000 discount. I just, maybe we owe it to them anyways.
well, there is that. I mean, there's a certain amount of abatements, or whatever you want to call them, that the assessors are in charge of every year. The veterans work-off has always been on our bylaws, so if we're going to remove the income restriction from the 60 and over, we might as well take it out of the veterans as well. I mean, that makes sense to me. Right? We already have the veterans' bylaws already on our bylaws,
There's no restriction on veterans if you,
except for the income, which Jason's motion would remove the
okay,
income.
all right,
Yeah.
fine. I'll go along
Okay.
with it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? All in favor? Before we do that, let's just restate the motion so that everybody knows what they're voting on.
Go ahead, Jason.
I made a motion to remove the income restrictions from the senior tax work-off program along with the veteran.
Tax work.
Okay, and that was a second on that. All in favor?
All right.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next is the ARPA premium pay.
Ed,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and table that till I've had more time to work with Bill's formula.
Second.
Okay, motion to table the ARPA premium pay. All in favor?
Aye.
Bill, yes or no?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next was to schedule a special board meeting, Selectmen on May 5th, 2022. Rebecca, you want to explain that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So essentially, what I was thinking is that since we moved the town meeting to May 23rd, and the election is slated to take place on May 2nd, we have not yet finalized the annual town meeting warrant. And where the vote relative to the override is essentially what would allow us to put that warrant article on the actual warrant, and then also whether or not it passes will impact the annual town meeting warrant. So I was hoping to have the Board of Selectmen go over the drafted warrant and the drafted budget at their next Board of Selectmen meeting, give initial approval or disapproval, and then have a second meeting scheduled for after the election on May 2nd, the week of May 2nd, allowing us time to make any adjustments and/or finalization so that you could then vote on the warrant officially, and then we could post the warrant on that Friday, and at the very, 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 very latest that Monday, in order to comply with the posting deadline for the May 23rd annual town meeting.
Anybody got any questions for Rebecca?
Makes sense.
You had a question, Kathy?
No, it says it makes sense. When you
Okay.
lay it out like that.
Well, we can take a vote on that. Somebody want to make a motion on that, to schedule a special
Okay.
meeting on Monday, May 5th?
So Wednesday May 5th, right?
No, it's a Thursday.
A Thursday, is it? Okay, so.
We can change it to Wednesday.
No,
I just wanted to.
Thursday's fine.
Okay.
Thursday's fine.
Wednesday's better.
Sorry.
Fine. So,
May 4th?
is Wednesday fine?
Yep, we can make it work. I just wanted to give myself at least the second day in case any additional information and any drafts needed to be done. So as long as I have a day after the election, I'll make whatever date you had that week work.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, May 4th at 6:30 PM.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Town administrator time.
I have just two quick things, just to let you know that I had a meeting this morning at Whittier Vocational. It was their annual breakfast with the superintendent. It was my first time going to Whittier. It was a very nice experience, and it was very nice to meet with the superintendent and the business manager for the first time. They have a lot of projects coming up, and it was nice to have that one-on-one conversation. They seem to be really understanding of the financial situations that we're facing in our community, and willing to work with us and do what we need to do in order to accommodate the students that we're sending there, as well as push forward their initiatives. And then also to let you know that the comprehensive master plan is moving forward. In your package, you'll see that there was a flyer. We've been working with the consultant to put together some workshops. There's 3 separate workshops that are scheduled. This is not to put forward any projects. This is not for any financial or monetary incentives or anything of that nature. This is honestly an opportunity to engage residents and hear from residents and get a better understanding of what they're looking for in the town and what they would like to see happen in the town, whether or not that be development or no development. And if they do want development, where do they want development? If they do want projects, where do they want those projects to go? So it really is just a matter of painting that vision and putting together that plan, so that we can have a better understanding of how to place our resources and move our visions forward. So I hope that the Board of Selectmen will be able to attend one of those sessions. We have made it in a geographic sense so that people can start to participate in those specific areas. And then also there is a QR code and a survey link that you can go to, and we welcome your feedback and also the residents' feedback as to what they're thinking Groveland should do.
Okay, thank you. Selectmen's time and reports. Jason?
No, I've got nothing today.
Kathy?
I just have a little public information. This is, see this? This is a sticker that's available from the Board of Health if you want to put this on any other barrel or bin you own. Can you read that? To make it known that you can put out as much recycling as you want. So you can have several barrels and bins, and you can get these for free of charge from our Board of Health, from Lori. And Lori was kind enough to also give me a sample of the extra throw-out bag. It's purple. It's $2.50, which does go towards helping offset the cost of trash, which is an expensive thing. So if you're doing any spring cleaning and you do want to throw out extra trash and you don't want to have it piled up in your home, you can purchase these bags, I believe, at Obashan, Market Basket, Jerry's Variety, Nicole's Mini Mart. Is that it? I think that's all of them.
And then
So-
also here at the Board of Health.
Oh, and the Board of Health. And Lori's buying this bin because I had her open it so I could show this off. So, that was just, little PR for the trash. Keep pushing it. I'm gonna be checking to see if our recycling is getting a little bit higher. I'm hopeful that, we are leaning more towards more recycling and lowering our tonnage. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I have a few things. We had our monthly meeting of the high school building committee last Tuesday, and the project continues to go along on time and on budget. We're about 52% complete of the project now, but that includes the demolition of the existing buildings as well as the fields, et cetera. So don't let the 52% fool you. The school is much, much farther along. We also had a couple of big wins last week. After the high school building committee meeting, in speaking with Mr. Lebrecq and Mr. Danforth and explaining them the condition of the high school baseball field at the Pines, they have been gracious enough to offer a considerable amount of workmen and materials to rehab the entire field. I think that's correct, right, Rebecca? I think we got that email today. So that's a big win for the town and taxpayers. That's a nice rehab job that'll be done by the high school and not the taxpayers. And then Rebecca and I had a nice win last week as well, in meeting with the, Rebecca and I have been meeting with the Mystic Valley Rapid Transit Authority for a while, and say, geez, it's such a shame that, you know, we see the bus across the bridge and we wave and they wave back, but they don't come. But I guess as of July 5th, that bus is going to come across the bridge and service the community right behind Town Hall here, the Groveland Housing Authority. It's going to have Groveland on the moniker, so we're on the map. It's the first step into bringing some public transportation to some well-needed citizens, and we're happy we could do it. And hopefully we can build on that relationship to provide greater services for the citizens of this town at no cost. We're already, I understand, paying into this, and we pay more than we get currently. So this is going to be some of that ways to offset what we're paying and what we're not getting. So that was a big win for Rebecca and I, and I think it's going to make a lot of difference in some people's lives in the coming months and years. And that's all.
Just a question on that. Are they going to stop in the square, and how often are they going to come across the bridge?
The bus right now, the schedule in its infancy is every hour. They are looking for a stop in the square. They are not sure where the best spot to put it. That's right now being studied, traffic patterns and such, and where would be the best place. The bus, imagine if you're on the street at all, you'll notice that the buses are coming here quite often all of a sudden. They're all always out of service. They're coming from Newburyport and they're going to the Haverhill garage, I guess, but they're always out of service. So the buses seem to be coming through this part of town much more frequently than I've ever experienced in the last few months. So I don't know if anybody will, really notice the difference other than it actually stops here. It's going to pick up people, take them across to the market basket over to the hospital, to the doctor's offices, and bring them back here in the inclement weather, snow, the cold. I think that's going to be a huge benefit to those folks.
Okay, thank you. Dan, you got anything?
Just that the cable guys approached me, and they're working on seeing if we can get some sports program between the, 3 towns and the Pentucket School District, and I appreciate them working diligently on that. They'd asked that, you and I, and I guess anyone else, if we had a quorum, but certainly I'd like to hear what they came up with, and they've been talking with some other people in the know. I guess they got some expert from TD Garden, I guess, so we could use all the brains, but I appreciate all your effort, and I'd like to see it just kind of be automatic. I mean, it woulda, shoulda, coulda, it's just we have these cable programs, and I think it would get people more involved and in tune with what is going on, and not just parents of children that play sports, but there's a lot of other people that watch TV, and maybe they want to see what's going on in town and in their district. So I appreciate your help, guys, and I plan on meeting with them at some point in time.
Yeah, I think within the next couple of weeks, Chris said.
Thank you.
That we'd set something up. I don't have anything. Old or unfinished business? You have something?
Yeah, just one real quick thing. Going back to the permit for the lacrosse, I know, and this skipped my mind when we were talking about it, typically when anybody asks me for a permit, one of the first things I ask them for is, I need a certificate of insurance naming the town of Groveland as one of the insured, just so we have CYA.
We had that.
And we do, okay, great.
That was in the paperwork that, maybe you didn't see it.
Was that in?
It might not have been, I might have just included the application.
I saw the app, and when I flipped down, there was another page.
I have 2 certificate of insurances for both the boys and the girls, yes.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting. I didn't think we had anything there. Correspondence, didn't have anything. Adjournment, next regularly scheduled meeting, the Board of Selectmen will be Monday, April 25th, 2022, 6:30. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:04 PM.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
I have to give these back to you.